Yeah, I forgot my other glasses. I ain't going. He said he's going. They're up Shipsy tomorrow. The Blue Great Gate or whatever it's called, Blue Moon, whatever it is up there.
Blue
The Blue Gate? Blue Gate.
Blue Gate. Blue Gate.
No, up there to Shipsy. I don't know, does the Amish have a casino? They have a mafia, but you do they have a sheep casino?
Okay. Call the April 1st meeting of the Planning Commission to order. Can we have a roll call, please?
Jason Carnahan.
Here.
Bill Van Wy.
Present.
Bill Hartman.
Here.
Sandy Harrison. Here. Tyler Lanning.
Here.
Frank Palver.
Here.
Jerry Yoder.
Here.
Suzanne Davis. Here. Angie Holt. Here. Mike McCarowicz.
Here.
Alicia Rogers. Here. Andrew Cruz.
Here.
Chris Gallmer.
Here.
Meredith Wright here.
We'll now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll now have a moment if someone would like to lead us in a word of prayer.
Let's bow our heads. Father God, we just ask you this morning to be with us today in this room, in this Planning Commission meeting, Lord, and so we might make decisions for your glory, Lord, and for the residents of this county. And Lord, we just can't wait to see what you have in store for us for this year. In Jesus' name, amen.
In your packets, we had the minutes from the previous meeting. If there's no additions or corrections, would entertain a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the previous February 19th minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Minutes are approved.
I'm going to abstain, Meredith. I was gone.
Same thing with the claims listed there in the packet. Would entertain a motion to approve.
I moved it, we approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve claims from February, March. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Okay. No old business, Chris?
Sir.
New business, 2 petitions for this morning. First one, petition 25-12, a Townsend Acres minor subdivision. Chris?
The whole Plan Commission is here for this one. Typically, this goes through Plat Committee, so if you have any questions, don't hesitate to yell them out while we're going through things. So typically, we take a look at the aerial map and the plat. While I'm going through the staff report, you can take a look at the standards of the UDO that follows. This is for Gregory A. and Deborah L. McClure on the north side of County Road 38, approximately 1/4 mile west of the intersection of County Road 38 and County Road 39 in Auburn. Existing zoning is R1 low-density residential. Surrounding land uses and zoning, to the north is single-family residential at R2. South is single-family residential and farm ground in R1. East is woods and single-family residential at A2, and west is single-family residential and farm ground in A2, R2. Parcel 010, which is surrounding the rest of this, is being cut out of a larger tract, is considered the parent parcel. This is the second buildable split from parent parcel 010. So 2 additional splits may be created based off of the zoning district which follows. The minimum lot area required is 2 net acres, and they have proposed 2.23 net acres. And again, that doesn't include any dedicated right-of-way or recorded easements. The minimum lot width required is 160 feet. They have proposed 392 feet. Minimum lot frontage required is 120 feet or 40 feet if the lot or lots are designed to conserve land for agricultural crop production, and they have proposed 392 feet. property fronts County Road 38. That's considered a county local road with a projected total right-of-way width of 60 feet. And as you can see on the plat in the staff report, they have proposed 30 feet of dedicated right-of-way, which meets the standards of the thoroughfare plan. You can see on the aerial map where they're wanting to take the land out of that parent parcel. On the plat, you can see the soil borings kind of in that mowed out area of the land there. So assuming they're going to be building somewhere within there, it's a pretty simple plat. There's no drains, no wetlands, no floodplain to worry about. Just meets all the standards of the UDO, so just needs to be approved for them to move forward with building. Take any questions you have. Angie Wallace, who is the representative for the petitioners, they're not here. She's on spring break, so if you do have any questions, further questions for her, we can try to get those answered.
Not my normal seat for plats. Huh? But this is not my normal seat for plats.
I know, you should have Alicia up there.
Is there any discussion amongst the board on this plat? Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to comment for or against this current petition? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion of this petition and move on to the findings. Mr. Cruz.
All right, we have proposed findings here that are not final until voted on and approved or disapproved by the Plan Commission. Starting with jurisdictional findings, number 1, application completed and filed on February 20th of this year.
Yes.
Legal notice published in the Star on March 21st, and affidavit received.
Yes.
Certificate of mailing notices sent and receipts given to staff.
Yes.
Letter from the County Board of Health dated February 26th.
Yes.
Letter from the County Highway Department dated February 24th.
Yes.
Report from the DeKalb County Soil and Water Conservation District dated February 21st.
Yes.
Letter from the Drainage Board dated March 6th.
Yes.
Airport Board report is not applicable here. There's a plat prepared by Compass Land Surveying, correct? Meredith?
Correct.
Yep. And the real estate to be developed is in zoning District R1, which permits the requested development. Now, the proposed findings of fact for this, we have number 1. First question is, does the proposed minor subdivision adequately conform to the comprehensive plan? So if anyone has any comments on that, including, agreeing with the proposed findings?
Yes, the subdivision will be used for residential use, which is compatible with the existing adjacent land uses.
All right, and any of you can comment on these at any time. Number 2, does the minor subdivision conform to the following UDO standards? First one is A, minimum width, depth, and area of lot.
Yeah, I see it now.
Yes, see the plat and staff reports.
B is the public way widths, grades, curves, and coordination of public ways with current and planned public ways, if applicable or required.
Yes, there's adequate access off of County Road 38, which is the dedicated right-of-way, and the driveway location has been reviewed and approved by the County Highway Department.
We've got C, the extension of water, sewer, and other municipal services, if applicable or required.
Does not apply. Private septic system will be utilized.
And then there's letter D, the allocation of areas to be used as public ways, parks, schools, public and semi-public buildings, homes, businesses, and utilities, if applicable or required.
None required.
All right. And then we have the planning staff recommendations and comments. They're recommending approval to allow this minor subdivision, but recommend the following conditions. There's standard conditions to be recorded on or with the plat. Number one, this lot shall be included in any subdivision arising from any further development from the land involved. However, there's no intention that any terms, conditions, or restrictions on a future plat will have any retroactive applicability to this division of land. Number two, there shall be compliance with the laws and regulations of any federal, state, or local agency. Number three, no off-site drainage, existing surface water, or existing tiled water drainage crossing over said real estate shall be obstructed by any development on the site. The Plan Commission may enforce these conditions by injunctive relief with attorney fees. Number four, the appropriate agricultural covenants, drainage covenants, and airport zone covenants shall be on the plat if required. And then there are some conditions that will not be recorded but would have to be met if this is approved. Number one, comply with the staff report. Number two, comply with any applicable environmental standards as required in Article 5, 5.11 EN01 in the Unified Development Ordinance. Number three, comply with the flood hazard area for DeKalb County Ordinance and any wetland laws and regulations if required. And number four, the plat shall not be recorded until the applicant files written evidence of compliance with any conditions of the Board of Health, Highway Department, Drainage Board, Surveyor, Airport, Soil and Water Conservation District, or other agency as applicable, and then file written evidence of compliance with federal or state agencies where identified in the findings or conditions. And the zoning administrator is to determine when the conditions have been met.
Is there any more discussion amongst the board on this petition? Jerry, you got the agricultural covenant teed up to read into the record?
Andrew, David, your dad was really prevalent that needed to be read every time that was put on a plat. So in his memory, will you read that, please?
Well, I don't go to these meetings normally, so I don't have it proposed. Do any of you have a version of it?
It's on the plat.
It's on the plat?
On the plat.
All right, let's see.
In super small print.
Get your readers out.
You can borrow Bill's glasses. if you
Agricultural
need to.
covenant here, this one here? All right, all right. I apologize, I don't really do these normally, so. All right, we have agricultural covenant that we'll read out here on the record. The owners of the lot or lots within this subdivision agree to recognize the existing agricultural land surrounding land usage surrounding this subdivision, and further agree not to object to the surrounding agricultural land use changes therein as permitted by law, particularly the Indiana State Code. If I can read it with my glasses here, I think it's 34-152-4. There we go. It's on the record. Thank you, Jerry.
Good job.
Honor of David Cruz there.
That's right. All right, seeing no more discussion from the board on this plat, we entertain a motion to approve or deny.
I move to approve petition 2512.
Second?
And is that with the proposed findings, as proposed, basically?
Correct.
Yep. Okay.
Yes.
We have a motion and a second to approve petition 2512. Meredith, roll call vote, please.
Bill Hartman,
Yes.
Bill Van Wy,
Yes.
Sandy Harrison,
Yes.
Jerry Yoder,
Yes.
Frank Palver,
Yes.
Suzanne Davis,
Yes.
Angie Holt,
Yes.
Tyler Lanning,
Yes.
Jason Carnahan.
Yes. Next petition is 25-13, which is a rezone, some property by St. Joe, owned by Lynn and Lisa Reinhardt. Chris?
Yep. Applicants are Lynn and Lisa Reinhardt. Property is located at the northeast corner of State Road 1 and County Road 34 in St. Joe. As Jason said, this is a zone map amendment or a rezone. The existing zoning is R1, low-density residential and open space and parks, going to a proposed zoning of A2. Property surrounding it and the land uses. North is the St. Joe Spencerville Regional Sewer District property and single-family residential. That is zoned R1, OP, and A2. To the south is farm ground and single-family residential in A2. East is farm ground and single-family residential in A2. And west is farm ground in R1. The information in the staff report is for the review of the proposed zone map amendment. There's no development plans proposed or required with a rezone. So again, this is just to look at the rezone of approximately 100 acres from R1, low-density residential and open space and parks, to A2 agricultural. As you can see on the page 2, the location map where this is located, in retrospect to St. Joe and Spencerville, kind of they're centered between the two. Page 3 shows a more zoomed in aerial of the property. Page 3 shows the existing zoning, kind of split up into thirds, if you will. The left third or west third is the R1 low-density residential. In the middle is open space and parks. And then to the east there is the A2 agricultural. It has a future land use map of residential, but as you guys know, in doing these rezones, it's just a guide for the zoning, so the zoning doesn't necessarily have to be 100% compatible to the future land use map. But any district can fall within any district in the future land use map. And then a proposed zoning map of what that would look like, basically changing, as we just said, all of the property there highlighted in yellow, going from the R1 and open space to A2 agricultural. The river there, from, I'm assuming top of bank, is not owned by Lynn and Lisa, so that would remain the open space and parks district. The differences between the three zoning districts there. The R1 low-density residential was established for single-family detached homes with small to medium-sized lots. As you can see in the permitted uses within the R1 zoning district, still allows for agricultural crop production, but could also have a public park or public pool. The residential uses, anything from a bed and breakfast to a single-family, multiple-family, 2 or 3 unit home, fair housing, short-term rentals or storage buildings that are private. Open space and parks was established for obviously open space, parks and recreational uses. Allows for driving ranges, golf courses, probably using golf carts, skate parks, sports fields, swimming pools, and those would be commercial. They don't have to be like, municipal swimming pools, could be a commercial swimming pool. Institutional uses allow for a community center, a public park, public parking lot, or public pool. And then going to the A2 agricultural zoning district is established for agricultural areas and buildings associated with agricultural production. Allows for some small infusion of non-agricultural single-family detached homes in areas where impact on agriculture and rural character is minimal. And then in the permitted uses of the A2 zoning district, obviously allows for a conglomerate of agricultural uses, including agricultural crop production, confined feeding operations, raising of farm animals, storage buildings that are agricultural in nature, storage of agricultural product. You could have a telecommunication facility, a police fire rescue station, and then residential uses include childcare homes, manufactured single family, the farmstead, storage buildings that are private and non-residential. So, when looking at this, if given a favorable recommendation to the county commissioners and if passed, the development potential significantly decreases going from the R1 to the A2. Obviously with the open space and parks, I'm assuming that when the Plan Commission, I'm trying to look at my map and I just screwed that up, looked at this as for open space, was probably some sort of greenway park system down from St. Joe, down the river to County Road 64, and then maybe would loop back up. I think that as long as the top of bank to that for the river is included in the open space and parks, they would be compliant with anything they would want to do within there. If they would do some sort of trail system or kayak launch or something like that, shouldn't have any sort of issues. But the development potential with the R1 zoning district significantly decreases in going from R1 to A2. Be happy to take any questions you guys all have.
I'm assuming that was all ag pre-09, or you have that?
I could look that up for you while we're talking. If you want to ask other questions, I can see if I can find it. I know I have it digitized in here of what the old master plan was. I just don't know if the maps would be on there.
I was just assuming 09 changed that to...
I would assume so.
Any other discussion among the board while Chris looks that up? Questions?
I do have a question. Wasn't this changed when Mr. Reinhardt was checking into having the Dollar General go at that location?
No, that was more north in Spencerville, or sorry, south in Spencerville.
Okay.
Just south of the bridge and all that.
Okay, this is.
A different parcel.
Okay. But it was all one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It goes down there to curve on the south end.
Any sort of considerations need to be taken to that the property is going to be auctioned coming up? The western half, I believe, Mr. Reinhardt probably can correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's scheduled to go to auction, 21st.
No, that's not really in the purview of the petition, though.
Just for the zoning considerations, but.
Not really.
No.
Yeah, you can't really, I mean.
Okay. I didn't know if it's like the small to medium residential lots, because it's being sold in 9 tracks.
Potentially.
Potentially.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't matter, then.
Well, it sounds like, Chris, that it would have less ability to develop it under A2 than the current zoning.
Correct.
Except, I suppose, for the open spaces side would be.
Well, correct, right.
The open spaces, that portion would probably be more restrictive than A2, but the residential side is more open for development theoretically, if they ask for it, I guess. Yeah. So the A2 should be more restrictive, at least for the R. Okay.
This section already has the Riverwalk on it, doesn't it? On the west side?
Yeah. So the zoning back 1964 to 2009 appears that it was rural suburban. The maps are black and white with hatching, and I'm assuming that's what it was.
The rural suburban, that was.
Yeah, but we didn't have like there was no ag district, it doesn't appear, back in 1964. I'm not seeing any on any of the zone maps that were hand-drawn, any like agricultural district. So it looks like our the least intense district was the rural suburban.
Essentially, it was A2 or whatever back then, or what our version of A2 is.
Yes, I'm looking to see what.
I was just curious. You don't have to dig.
The way this was put together is cumbersome. Thank God we have our new UDO, because it was all over the place.
I'm going to keep going, or you want? Is there any more discussion among the board? Do we need to have the petitioner come up first? If there's, Lynn or Lisa, you want to come up to the microphone, state your name and address?
Lynn Reinhardt, 4224 County Road 71. First off, I'd like to thank each of you for coming out and taking a little bit of your time away from other things this morning and throughout the rest of the year to serve your county in this capacity. I think and specifically for our rezoning request here this morning, I think it's pretty straightforward, as Chris had kind of talked about and outlined in his staff report. And I believe that if many of you would drive by the property, you would expect that it was already zoned A2 agriculture, because that's what you see in the community. I believe also that the majority of the residents in that neighborhood would be surprised to learn that the properties on both the east and west side of State Road 1 south of south of St. Joe is currently zoned residential. So our request to rezone it agricultural would allow for mixed use agricultural and residential as is outlined in the county's UDO. One thing, it would allow families to have goats, chickens, pigs, cows, horses, and not just pets at any residence that they would not be able to have if they built a residence with it being zoned R1 as it currently is. So that's the main part. I guess a couple comments for clarification. For the first, Chris said at the northeast corner of State Road 1 and County Road 34. That's northeast corner of State Road 1 and County Road 64. So just to make sure that that's correct on the record. And Sandy mentioned a property that we had requested some rezoning in the past. This is entirely a different property. It's not part of the same property whatsoever. Guess that's all I have. If you have any questions for me, I'd be glad to try to address them.
Yes, I guess you're
Thank you.
free to sit down. Is there anyone in the public that wishes to comment on this petition for or against? Come to the podium, state your name and address, please.
My name is Roxanne Becker. I live at 13516 Wheat Mill Court in Graybill. My parents own the small farm on State Road 1 that is bordered by the Reinhardt property. I object to having it rezoned because when you look at the property, since the 1830s, when that property was first settled, that property had all of the homes built far away. And there's a reason, because the land is in a floodplain. And it's been in a floodplain for almost 200 years that there is record of. When we had the flood in 1982, my parents purchased their property in 1977, and we watched it flood from time to time. You'd see the fields back behind my parents' property. The river had overflowed halfway through the field. In 1982, the flood came all the way up to the top of the hill where my parents' pump house sits on the property. Looking at the property and looking at what the state says, what the federal government says, building on floodplain is not highly recommended. And I just find it questionable that a property that has been farmland, agricultural land since the early 1800s, suddenly is just be thrown away to put little baby farms on, or have people move to the country that are going to complain about the smells and the fact that my parents' property has livestock and has since 1977. I feel it would be an injustice to the property to have it rezoned and have it be allowed to have multiple places built on it. The auction company, before this zoning issue was brought forth, had already listed it as mini farms, mini estates, before my dad even received a letter saying that Lynn was asking to have it rezoned. I find that a little questionable. There are multiple sources online where the properties are listed. The property, the way it is divided, is listed as residential. And that's concerning. Because anyone who buys the property needs to know that land is in floodplain. And so I'm speaking today for my parents. My mother passed away in 2020. My father is in his 80s. And I speak as his power of attorney. And I speak for myself, having been raised on that property. I'm there every day. I've seen for years, for decades, what that land looks like on a good day and what it looks like on a bad day. And to have it rezoned to allow for building of houses in places where you know the ground's not good to build, I object to it. My parents object to it. I thank you for listening to my concerns.
For the record, I received 2 emails from Ms. Becker about this. One of them was forwarded on to you guys. The other one was sent to just myself, and it was the same information. So just for the record, you all received that via email.
And that
And then it was in the
2-page email could be in.
packet too.
Okay, so that can be entered in the record today.
Yep, it'll be.
Yes, because I did contact the DNR, and then I had contacted the Natural Resource Commission, and they had forwarded my information to DNR.
Yeah, yeah. And we have flood regulations in our ordinance that the Plan Commission, as myself, regulate, enforce. And like I said too, it's going back to agricultural, if you will. So you're taking it from a more highly developable property in the R1 to a less developable property in the A2. You couldn't do a conventional subdivision where, you have roads going through and things like that. So the maximum number of buildable lots that could be built off of this is 4. So
Not 9.
Well, in R, it was how many in R?
I'm sorry?
How many are allowed in R1?
You could do a conventional subdivision that allows however many you can fit.
in there, yeah.
And if it's on sewer, I think it's 1,200 square feet lots or something, so it's,
A bunch.
or 12,000 square foot lots, sorry. Yeah.
The sewer currently does run in front of my parents' property.
Yep.
They are not tied into it. They were told they were not permitted to tie into it. The other homes along State Road 1 are also on septics.
Any development that would happen currently would have to tie into the sewer.
Yeah.
Any new development would have to tie into the sewer. So, anyway.
Is there, when you look at floodplain, how far out from, do we have a floodplain map?
Yes.
Probably, sure, that would show, so there's probably a few acres along the river that is not buildable because it's too close to the floodplain.
It's not that it's not buildable, they would just have to meet the floodplain standards, which is,
Okay.
the first floor has to be 2 feet above the base flood
It would
elevation.
have to be a raised home.
Correct. Have a raised home where you have to flood-proof the basement part of it for it to be, buildable.
I did bring a copy of the FEMA map. That
We've got
shows
those too, yep.
Yeah.
And I could add this, would have to pass through drainage board as far as that floodplain. Am I right, Tyler?
Any of the buildable lots would have to pass through drainage board, which would look at.
Pass through, if there's a problem with floodplain, it'd have to
And if
be-
any buildable lots are part of the flood zone, we have a floodplain or flood zone covenant that requires them to build 2 feet above the base flood elevation. So that's a covenant that's on the plat. Anyone that would buy that would, it follows the land, doesn't follow the property owner, so any developer would have to follow that as well.
Anyone else in the public that wishes to speak for or against this petition? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion and move on to our findings with Mr. Cruz.
All right. So for petition 2513, these are going to be proposed findings, not final until voted upon by the Plan Commission. The Plan Commission shall pay reasonable regard to the following in making a recommendation to the DeKalb County Commissioners under Section 9.06G3 of the Unified Development Ordinance in Indiana Code 3674603. We'll start with the jurisdictional findings. Application completed and filed on February 13th of this year.
Yes.
Legal notice published in the Star on March 21st and publisher's affidavit received.
Yes.
Certificate of mailing notices sent and receipts given to staff.
Yes.
Non-objection letter from the DeKalb County Board of Health dated February 26th.
Yes.
Non-objection letter from the DeKalb County Highway Department dated February 24th.
Yes.
Non-objection letter from the DeKalb County Soil and Water Conservation District dated February 21st.
Yes.
And non-objection letter from the county surveyor dated February 24th.
Yes.
And the letter from the DeKalb County Airport Authority is not applicable in this situation. Now, down to the UDO and statutory matters to consider. And so, per usual, there are some proposed findings. You're also welcome to have discussion or comments on any of these as members of the Plan Commission as well, but we'll go down through them 1 through 5. Number 1 is the change in zoning paying reasonable regard to the comprehensive plan.
May I ask a question about
Yes.
the open space? I know, Chris, I think you answered a lot of my questions on, I was looking at the open space on either side. What the original intent of that was, who owns that property or the waterway in the middle, I guess, who has authority over that? And what was the original vision? Because I see the property north of that has that wider open space, but south of it, it does not. It doesn't continue. So it's not, you suggested that there was a vision of some sort of a path or a community.
Yeah, the trail ends at County Road 64.
And there's a current, I'm not really familiar with that specific.
Yeah, so for the ownership, there's no information available, which means that it's owned by either the state or DNR or the county. I would assume it's not the county because they don't.
And there's a
no
public
information available.
trail adjacent to
It
that?
appears
Is that
to
what
be,
it is? I'm
yes.
not real familiar, okay.
It's actually paved for at least a portion of it. I haven't gone down the whole trail, but it starts out at the baseball field park at St. Joe, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, it's called the River Greenway.
And that wouldn't be impacted, that wouldn't be restrict public access or whatever's currently available there to the, by changing any of this? I see it's.
Theoretically, no. I mean, I'm not showing any easement over that to give that access, but if you want to open up the public hearing, we can ask Lynn, because I'm assuming he would have had to approve that. Lynn, can you come to the mic and just
We'll reopen.
explain that part as to what you allowed and what easements you may have or not have?
Yes, I wanted to come forward when I heard you start discussing it. So there is a legal recorded easement with the St. Joe Parks Incorporated, I believe, is the entity that they go by. That was created before I owned the property. But once an easement is granted, it is there in perpetuity. So I assumed that easement that the original owners had granted to them. Anyone buying the property would also assume that easement. There wouldn't be, there's nothing that anybody can do to change it once that easement is on record.
Do you have a copy of that?
I
find it.
do
but I
not
just need
have
to
it
get
with me, but I do have a copy at home.
Can you email me
way
that, just so we can?
I could do that.
I'd like to put all the easements in our GIS, and it's just not there, so we don't have any right to it, but I'd like to get it in GIS.
So is the trail itself on your property?
Partly.
Partly on your property, at least?
Yes.
It goes in and out of all of it, but
The trail itself, we would assume is on our property. I guess it'll be determined more when we get an actual survey done on where they.
And it could even go
determine
in
the
and
legal,
out? Yeah.
Boundaries of the river, and I would agree with Chris, either the state of Indiana or the DNR own the water. That way, it can't be privately owned that way, so. Is there anything further?
How wide of an easement is there on there, you know?
It's 40 or 50 feet
From the center or from the edge?
from the top of the bank.
Top of the bank, so. Thank you.
Thank you.
I thought that there was wetlands. Wasn't there designated wetland there also?
It's not designated wetland according to Beacon, but it is a floodplain.
It is not.
Not that I saw. It's maybe the very north end of the property, but it didn't show as designated wetland on Beacon.
Hey, Lynn, can you farm right up to your easement most of the time, or is there wetlands in there?
We do farm up to the easement, or I guess wherever they have grass and that they mow to that way. I guess it's never been marked since I have it to know exactly where the easement starts and stop, but I mean, it's been something that works for everybody. The trail's closer to the river, and then there's some trees that they have planted on the side of the walkway more adjacent to the field that way.
But you can farm it all. There's no area that you can't farm, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, and sure, there's times throughout the year that it will flood. So no one's going to deny that, and any advertising alludes to that fact and points that out. So it's nothing that anyone's trying to hide, but definitely not the whole property floods or is in the floodplain. GIS maps have the maps from the state or federal that way, and it shows the parts or the portion that's in the 100-year floodway, and then also what's in the floodplain that it extends a little bit farther than that would be highly restricted on anything permanent that you can do within that, so.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that by restricting that open space, that we weren't restricting what the community had become accustomed to, and presumably that sort of.
that easement protects that.
Okay, that the easement does it, okay.
I'll get that. And if anything would get platted on that, the easement would be on the plat too. So showing that.
Close back.
Yeah, we'll close the public comment portion of the petition again. Is there any more discussion amongst the board?
Well, we need to keep going through the planning.
Sorry.
That's right. Nope.
We got derailed in the middle.
But it's okay. It's okay. That's part of what we're here for, is the discussion, and it also shows that we're paying due and reasonable regard to things if we're having a discussion, so that's good. But let's circle back to number one, is the change in zoning paying reasonable regard to the comprehensive plan. Anyone can speak on any of these points.
I would say yes, the change in zoning is paying reasonable regard to the comprehensive plan because the current and future land use is designated residential and mixed agricultural, and that's consistent with that. And as we discussed, converting that to the A2, right, is what we're saying? Actually restricts that, but still allows that mix.
Number two is the change in zoning paying reasonable regard to the current conditions and the character of current structures and uses in each district.
Yes, the existing development surrounding the property is agricultural and residential in use. The change in zoning will be consistent with the surrounding properties and the current conditions and character of the current structures and land uses in the area.
And number 3 is the change in zoning paying reasonable regard to the most desirable use for which the land in each district is adapted.
The proposed zoning district is desirable for this property and the area, yes.
And number 4 is the change in zoning paying reasonable regard to the conservation of property values throughout the jurisdiction.
Property values of the area should not be disturbed negatively.
And is the change in zoning paying reasonable regard to responsible development and growth?
In changing the zoning of the property to A2 agricultural, the Planning Commission will be promoting the desired use of the land while promoting responsible development and growth. So yes.
And I'll note that under planning staff recommendations, that the staff is recommending a favorable recommendation to the county commissioners for the requested zone map amendment. Should there be any conditions or commitments made by the Planning Commission and adopted by the county commissioners, they shall be written and recorded in the office of the DeKalb County Recorder. So basically it's a matter of making a favorable recommendation, an unfavorable, or no recommendation, and then it goes to the county commissioners.
Okay, now is there any more discussion amongst the board members?
On the floodplains, back to that, that is something you're going to put in when someone comes to develop it, right?
Right. It comes through the planning process.
Okay.
More? There's no more discussion. I would entertain a motion for a favorable, unfavorable, or no recommendation.
We'll entertain a favorable recommendation, petition 2513.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for a favorable recommendation for petition 2513. Can we have a roll call?
Bill Hartman,
Yes.
Bill Van Wy,
Yes.
Sandy Harrison,
Yes.
Jerry Yoder,
Yes.
Frank Palver,
Yes.
Suzanne Davis,
Yes.
Angie Holt,
Yes.
Tyler Lanning,
Yes.
and Jason Carnahan.
Yes. Okay. Next on our agenda is a comprehensive plan update from Mr. Gomer.
Yeah, there's not too much updating. We do have the second group of focus group topics on April 3rd, this Thursday, with the second public workshop. After that, starting from 5 to 7, the second floor of Butler City Hall. The public workshops, we have the philanthropic groups, youth, quality of life and place, and land use. And those, we did have starting at 9 a.m. I think they're starting at 10 a.m. and going to 4:30 p.m. So any questions on that? Hopefully then in May or June, we'll have some more discussion topics. I think what I would like to do is do a semi-roadshow-ish of taking the toolkit that we have and going and talking to various other groups as well to get ideas and things, going to the schools, maybe some like Kiwanis Rotary Chamber of Commerce things to try to get their input as well. So, but yeah, not much to update other than meetings on Thursday.
Chris?
Yes, sir.
Is there any theme or trend that you're seeing, or is it too early
Not
to
yet.
say that?
Not yet.
Okay, too early.
Not yet, yeah.
Okay.
Were you pleased with your turnout over to Garrett?
Oh, yeah. The focus group topics, we had 15 to 20, I I think the first one with agricultural land use, you both were there. Gosh, there were maybe upwards of 20 plus there at times.
Had more to sit around the table.
Yeah. Oh, you were there, were you there too? Yeah. And Suzanne stayed the whole time. The public workshop open house, it was nice to have it at the JM Center because people were coming in while they were going to work out to see what was going on, which was nice. Not as busy as I would say there was a steady, one or two people throughout the 2 hours, but it wasn't like we had, people standing outside the doors. So, which you're gonna get that, especially 5 to 7 p.m. on a Thursday evening. But yeah, we'll just keep pushing.
Okay. Do we have reports from our town staff meetings?
Butler had a meeting where they went over some comprehensive plan information, and they had a rezone.
No meeting in Auburn.
Garrett did not have a meeting this month, but last month, it was a company from Butler, does metal work, is moving to the Garrett industrial area. So basically had that laid out. It was pretty much approved at that point, I think, so.
Anything in Ashley up there, Bill?
No, it's dead. It is so dead, who knows? It's dying.
When's the last time you had a meeting?
Over a year now.
I was just saying 22.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
Waterloo? Nothing from for the last year.
I don't think we've had a Waterloo meeting since our last meeting.
Since your comp plan meeting?
I think so.
That was in like February, wasn't it? Or January?
Yeah, we've skipped last meeting.
Well, Hamilton's hoping to have a meeting in April.
Is there any comments from any public that may be in attendance or anything? Okay, seeing none, next meeting is May 21st. We will adjourn this meeting.